Hello, all you freedom-loving people. So what's going on with Trump and Musk, and what about the recent aviation issues? Is this still related to DEI? And the FDA approved a new COVID vaccine, but they don't actually recommend it. Okay, let's get into it. Elon Musk and President Trump traded barbs against each other yesterday, but the cost to Musk was quite high. Tesla's shares fell 14.26% after President Trump said that he was very disappointed in its CEO, Elon Musk. And it dragged the S&P 500 down 31.51 points, the NASDAQ down 162.04 points, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 108 points. And of course, President Trump's media tech group took a hit also. Its shares were down 8.04%. Frankly speaking, the world was shocked by the sudden fallout between these two famous figures. After all, their previous collaboration was so inspiring that it gave hope to conservatives and moderates around the world. Although we all know that both of them are successful people with distinctive personalities, both of them are very self-confident and have their own independent views. It's unrealistic to expect them to see eye to eye on every issue. They are both successful entrepreneurs who are accustomed to monopolizing power, and it's inevitable that there will be conflicts and clashes in the course of cooperation. But the fact that it got to the point that it did yesterday is quite surprising. Yesterday afternoon, after saying that he was very disappointed in Elon Musk, President Trump took to Truth Social to voice his views about Elon Musk's departure from the White House. He wrote, "Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away the EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy." But Musk responded, denying it. Musk retorted that he didn't know the specifics. He also said that the bill was never shown to him once, and that it was passed so quickly in the dead of night that almost no one in Congress could get a read on it. The trigger for this conflict was their disagreement over the big beautiful bill. It's worth mentioning, though, that there was no special treatment extended to Musk through this new legislation. President Trump didn't do any special favors for Musk. But President Trump has said that he was caught off guard by Musk's opposition to the bill. He told reporters that Musk knew the inner workings of the bill better than anybody sitting here. The bill phases out a $7,500 EV tax credit in December of 2026, but Musk denied that his opposition was because of the changes to the EV policy. Musk responded by saying, "Whatever, keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched, very unfair, but ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill." After that, the incident went out of control. Ian Miles Chung, a social media influencer, didn't miss a beat in capturing this hot topic. He asked, "President versus Elon, who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him." Then Musk responded, "Yes." On the 5 on Fox News, Greg Gutfeld offered his opinion on the current feud between President Trump and Elon Musk. He said, "I think what you're seeing is a battle between the purist and pragmatist." A Chinese-Canadian ex-user named Calabillionaire agrees with Greg Gutfeld. He said in a post that Musk is an entrepreneur and he himself is an entrepreneur. He understands Musk very well. It's because in an enterprise, if you think an employee is not good, you can just dismiss him. But President Trump runs a country and he can't just fire American citizens, even if he does like to say you're fired on TV. What Musk has seen and is used to is a one-size-fits-all solution like layoffs. It's very effective in business management and tech innovation, but it's limited to those two areas. A lot of the federal employees that Doge furloughed, some of them were also Trump supporters. A lot of the vendors that he kicked off were probably Republican gold donors also. President Trump thinks deeper, and he needs to address the Democratic checks and balances on his administration, as well as Fed interest rates and trade deficits. These issues are beyond Musk's capabilities, yet President Trump will have to use unconventional means to address them. In the end, Calabillionaire hopes that Musk will soon realize that America is like a big tree. If the tree is infested with bugs, as a gardener, you can prune and cut the leaves to get rid of the bugs, but you can't cut off all the branches of that tree. So obviously, all of their supporters want the two to find common ground. Billionaire Trump supporter Bill Ackman later tweeted on X that President Trump and Elon Musk should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. Then Elon Musk responded to the tweet by saying, "You're not wrong." An X account with only 184 followers pleaded with Musk to cool off. They wrote, "This is a shame. This back and forth. You are both better than this. Cool off and take a step back for a couple of days." Musk replied, "Good advice." Meanwhile, several people in the Republican Party who are friends with both President Trump and Elon Musk tried to quickly diffuse the hostilities between the two sides. House Speaker Mike Johnson said at a press conference, policy differences shouldn't be personal.
Elon and I left on a great note. We were texting one another, happy texts, Monday. And then yesterday, 24 hours later, he does a 180 and he comes out and opposes the bill. And it surprised me, frankly. And I don't take it personal. We don't take it personal. Policy differences are not personal. I think he's flat wrong. I think he's way off on this, and I've told him as much, and I've said it publicly and privately. I'm very consistent in that. But am I concerned about the effect of this on the midterms? I'm not. Let me tell you why. Because when the big, beautiful bill is done and signed into law, every single American is going to do better. This bill is geared for middle and working class Americans, and they are going to feel the effects of it, and they're going to feel it before the midterm elections. So I have no concern whatsoever. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to win the midterms and grow the House majority because we're delivering for the American people and fulfilling our campaign promises, and we'll see how that happens.
And he called Musk a friend. In addition, the White House has handed out an olive branch. White House aides have scheduled a call with Musk today to ease the tensions. The conflict is rooted in differing views on the impact of Trump's policy bill on the federal deficit. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, projected on June 4th that the bill would add $2.4 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. But President Trump said that the forecast did not fully reflect the bill's impact, and the numbers don't factor in the tariffs. President Trump and Republican leaders believe that the bill will boost economic growth and eventually reduce the deficit within a decade. And referring to the CBO projections on the budget bill and President Trump's tariffs, White House Principal Deputy Communications Director Alex Pfeiffer said on X, "When you combine the two, the deficit will be cut by $500 billion over 10 years. In a June 4th call with reporters, Russ Vought, the director of the White House's Office of Management and Budget, the OMB, said that the baseline used by CBO to calculate the budget's impact was fundamentally biased. House Speaker Mike Johnson similarly accused the CBO of assuming historically low rates of growth in reaching this conclusion. But several Republicans, including Senators Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, and Mike Lee, have expressed similar concerns as Musk regarding the bill's impact on the federal deficit. Now, the Senate is expected to make substantial changes to the bill. In order to ensure the passage of the bill, the number of opponents must not exceed 3. So it's unclear what impact the feud will have as the legislation works through the Senate. But regardless of the outcome, this dispute will undoubtedly spark more discussion and debate within the Republican Party. And actually, President Trump's first response yesterday to Musk came during his discussion with the German chancellor. Germany's new chancellor met with President Trump for the first time in the Oval Office, and the Germans were happy to see that the meeting between President Trump and Friedrich Merz went well. This was a relief. President Trump praised Merz's rearmament campaign, and he suggested that Europe's importation of more U.S. natural gas should be part of the U.S. trade deal with the European Union. Of course, President Trump's statements about the war in Ukraine were provocative to most people in Europe, but Merz wisely ignored them to avoid controversy. Russia has now officially begun its counterattack against Ukraine's previous period of drone attacks. On Friday morning, Russian forces launched ballistic missiles and drones from multiple directions in a heavy airstrike on Kyiv, causing multiple explosions and fires. But Merz carefully laid blame squarely on Putin for the violence, and he made the point that Germany was siding with Ukraine. President Trump, on the other hand, likened the Ukraine war to a fight between two children who hate each other. President Trump said, "Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart." President Trump even revealed what he directly said during a phone call with Putin this week. He said, "President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. You see in hockey, you see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds, let them go for a while before you pull them apart." Listening to this, I'm reminded of the argument between Elon Musk and President Trump. Today, President Trump said that he won't be speaking with Elon Musk for a while friends around them are trying to reconcile them. President Trump told CNN today, "I'm not even thinking about Elon. He's got a problem. The poor guy's got a problem." When asked if he had a phone conversation with Elon, President Trump said, "No, I won't be speaking to him for a while, I guess, but I wish him well." ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl revealed that he had a phone conversation with President Trump this morning. He posted on X saying, "Trump did not, however, seem angry or even concerned about the feud." And House Speaker Mike Johnson said that Musk should stay in his own lane. He said, "I don't argue with him about how to build rockets, and I wish he wouldn't argue with me about how to craft legislation and pass it." Airplane flight accidents have been frequently reported in the media lately. Air travel has become a bit of an adventure. An investigative report by the Epoch Times reveals an inextricable link to the airline's DEI policy. Let's start with a true story. One veteran airline captain, for the first time in her decades-long career, heard a story that made her uneasy about putting her loved ones on a plane. During a 2024 conversation, a flight instructor described unusual steps that managers had taken to salvage the career of a young female trainee pilot. The captain said it is an egregious example of the apparent relaxation of standards to meet diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI goals. The trainee repeatedly failed the most basic pilot training tests. According to the instructor, she crashed during a computerized flight simulation, proving that she was unable to operate the three most basic controls of the aircraft. Yet management balked when the instructor failed her. The captain is a woman who was hired long before DEI programs took hold. She said that the story of the trainee shows how far her airline was willing to go for the apparent sake of DEI. The captain said, "I don't want myself or my family to be in the back of that airplane. That's really what it comes down to, right? Would you want to be in the back of that airplane?" But the DEI landscape changed after President Trump issued an executive order on January 21st of this year requiring federal agencies such as the FAA to halt their DEI program. However, these DEI programs remain entrenched at private airlines, although it is less obvious now. An FAA employee who requested anonymity told the Epoch Times that the agency just moved around pro-DEI personnel and changed their titles. Thus, DEI remains built into the system, according to him. He said, "They just do whatever they want. There's no mechanism of enforcement." As of early May, Southwest's rebranded DEI program appeared to be pursued in a high-profile and proud manner, according to what one pilot told the Epoch Times. The captain pointed out to signs that additional inept trainees are just being pushed through. After simulator training, trainees fly an actual aircraft under guidance of line check airmen. These expert pilots have reported that some students are now taking 4 times as long to finish a mandatory training as they should. Some of the line check pilots became frustrated and pulled over, with one telling the captain, "I saw the quality of pilots that we were hiring and I don't want anything to do with it." Airline employees say that it's especially troubling to see the persistence of DEIs in an industry as dependent on safety as aviation. One flight attendant said that if the public knew the safety-threatening factors that employees see, they would stop flying altogether. However, defenders of DEI also claim that there's no evidence yet that DEI was a contributing factor in the recent accidents and other incidents that have left U.S. air travelers in doubt in recent months. But Buzz Patterson, a retired military and commercial pilot with 35 years of flying experience, told the Epoch Times that the DEI amps up the risk factor associated with flying. He said, "You're putting an aluminum tube in the air going to 500 miles an hour at 35,000 feet. Pilots also face volatile weather conditions, among other variables. Crews need to be ready to react. They have very little room for error." Patterson also said, "Back in my day, it was dog eat dog, and they didn't care what your color or sex was. They just wanted you to be the best they could possibly hire. That is not the case today." Now, DEI permeates the airline industry, Patterson said, and he believes that hiring standards and performance have deteriorated because of it. Increasingly, he said, fellow pilots have confided by saying, "I had to basically solo the airplane today because my co-pilot was inept and underqualified and inexperienced." Patterson said, "That's scary." In addition, airline employees are concerned that management will retaliate if they report problems with DEI employees. A flight attendant said that in this way, DEI employees could fail to comply with the rules for protecting the safe exits of the cabinet, ignore the necessary safety checks, and even use cell phones during critical phases of the flight, such as takeoff and landing, without having to bear any consequences. On Wednesday, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, approved a new COVID-19 vaccine. However, Dr. Vinay Prasad, the director of the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, clarified that the agency is not recommending the vaccine for use. In a video statement, Dr. Prasad said, "There's a common misconception I want to address. People have claimed that the FDA is recommending this shot for high-risk individuals and older adults. Let me be clear. The FDA is not your doctor. We do not make medical recommendations. Our role is to make vaccines available so patients can discuss them with their healthcare providers. For example, a 66-year-old may consult their doctor and choose to receive the vaccine or not. That's a personal medical decision. The FDA grants marketing authorization, but we are not in the business of giving medical advice." Over the weekend, the FDA granted approval to Moderna's new COVID-19 vaccine. The shot was authorized for two specific groups. The first group is individuals age 65 and older, and the second group is people between the ages of 12 and 64 with at least one underlying condition that is identified by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as increasing the risk of severe COVID-19. Meanwhile, the CDC has recently stopped recommending COVID-19 vaccination for healthy children and pregnant women. Typically, the FDA handles vaccine approvals, while the CDC provides public health recommendations. As we also reported, since May, a rapidly spreading new COVID-19 variant known as NB181 has become dominant in China. Despite the usual official efforts by the Chinese Communist Party to downplay the outbreak, reports from doctors and residents indicate a far more serious situation. Schools across multiple provinces in China have suspended classes and placed students in quarantine, raising fears of renewed lockdowns. The variant is also spreading to nearby countries, leading to rising hospitalization and emergency room visits. The variant has also spread to the United States, but the case numbers are low. The CDC reported fewer than 20 cases in its baseline surveillance, which is too low to include in its official variant dashboard. The most distinguishing symptom of the new variant appears to be a sore throat. The symptom is apparently so severe that Chinese social media users have described it as feeling like razor blades in the throat. Dr. Joseph Veron, a professor of medicine at the University of Houston, noted an uptick in acute COVID-19 infections following spring break. However, most patients recovered within a few days. Dr. Varon has treated several patients who arrived from China recently, and he confirmed that a sore throat has been a common symptom. He said it's really more of a self-limited illness. Within 2 or 3 days, most patients say, "I'm feeling better." He recommends taking vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc in order to support immune health, both during active infections and as a preventative measure. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.